Are you wrestling with imposter complex? Does it have you pinned to the mat? Let's figure out how to wiggle out. I have a fundamental belief that everything that gets used against us can be a source of power, including everything we're using against ourselves. And here's what I mean by that as it pertains to imposter complex and getting off the mat and getting free. So here's the thing. Imposter complex can be an incredible professional asset. And I'll tell you a story that sort of makes the case for this. Once upon a time, I was a brand new blogger back in the days when blogging was a big thing. And there was this very important big time blog magazine that everybody wanted to write for. And so people were writing free blog posts for this place, and then you get a bump in traffic, and it could really just put you on the map. I wanted to write for this magazine. So instead of doing what you're supposed to do, which is querying them and et cetera, I just sent a blog post. And it was this trippy, weird stream of consciousness thing about Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and quality content. And it was spectacular. It was a real jewel of a little poetry / essay kind of thing. It was not what normal bloggers write. It was not how blogs were supposed to be written. It followed none of the blogging conventions. It was completely antithetical to everything else that was on the blog. And what happened was the editor and founder of that site immediately got back to me. I was a total unknown. I had 6 followers. 2 of them were my mother and my sister, and said, "This is the best blog post. Can you write a column for me? I'll pay you." So everyone's begging to write for free for this magazine. And suddenly I have a job on the back of one wackadoodle blog post that I sent in as a total unknown. And what I mean by this, or the connection between this and imposter complex, is I didn't know what I was doing. I was totally new to the field. In fact, I was an imposter. I was pretending I knew what I was doing. And that was my asset. I hadn't yet been institutionalized by the norms in the field. I was a total newbie, wildly unqualified, but I saw something different. And because I hadn't been institutionalized or socialized in the norms and conventions of the field, that's why my work stood out. That's why it was fresh and real, because I wasn't yet conforming to the norms. So when people in my world are grappling with imposter complex, what they usually mean by that, and it can vary, but what they usually mean by that is they feel small compared to the giants in their field. They feel like they don't have the qualifications compared to this person who has 3 New York Times bestselling lists or has been a CEO for 25 years or. They don't feel like they have the qualifications or have traveled the normal path in the field. They haven't collected the social trophies. And again, that's the asset. You not following that path, you not being the same as the big giants in the field or even the regular folks in the field, is the asset. You're going to do something different. You see something different. Edward Said, who wrote the book Orientalism, which is a really important book, and he's been a big influence on me in my thinking and in my life, wrote an essay about being what he calls a cultural exile, meaning that he is a Christian Palestinian who was exiled from Palestine, grew up in the UK and France, and ended up going to grad school and becoming a professor in New York. So he's lived in many different nations, had different cultural experiences, ethnically, religiously, and everywhere he goes, he's what he calls a cultural exile. So he's always on the fence between 2 cultures. And on the one hand, that means he never quite feels at home, which is what it means to feel like an imposter in your field. You never quite feel at home. And the asset there is you see things differently. You're on a fence between 2 things. You can look down into both things and see things that other people cannot see. So being the exile, being the imposter, it's the source of your medicine. It's the creative and professional asset that you need. So instead of feeling like we're in a death roll with the crocodile known as imposter complex, be the imposter.